First of all, hello all, a very good afternoon and a warm welcome to this webinar. In the next 25 to 30 minutes, it's going to be all about how SAP HANA is evolving and whether is SAP HANA is expected to give out the same performance, the reliability, or rather from an end user, the expectation from SAP HANA is going to be provided by SAP HANA as a software bundle or the underlying hardware. It could be from a commodity-based E5 system or an E7 system, whether that is going to be the critical one. Right now, when we speak about SAP HANA, I'm sure many of you understand the basics of SAP HANA, the architecture around it. Now, the biggest question is, yes, we are making a big decision to move on SAP HANA as a database, or rather it's a platform. But the underlying big question, or the million-dollar question, is whether the hardware a customer need to deploy SAP HANA would be a special server. That's a big question. Now special could be not a word fit here, but still, as we go through the presentation, you might understand what does special stands for. To start with, before we dwell into the SAP HANA space, let's understand some trends in the large enterprise ecosystem. First one, from a mobility perspective, if you look at the number of devices, now this report, I think so, if you see, it's around from December 2015, but if you look at the latest report, I think so, you will see a 10 to 15% delta increase, right? So the number of connected devices by 2020, it's around 30 billion. That's humongous. Now continuity, that we are speaking about 4 nines uptime or better. Now it's good to hear, because I've been in working as a business continuity specialist for multiple organizations, seeing 71% growth, wherein large enterprise customers, even SMBs, expecting this business continuity for their mission critical databases or application is really good. Now, is 4 nines the expectation? I have seen 5 nines as well. Moving to cloud, so growth seems to be 5x, but as per the latest report, it seems like it has grown to 7x. Now, that's something good again. Now, analytics, 70%. Nothing to do specific to SAP HANA, but you can consider this as a superset. Now, SAP HANA in the database market, you can consider that as a subset, right? The point here is, as your requirement changes, your ecosystem or the data center type would change. You have a X requirement, you have data center probably data center number 1, the type of DC unit, the type of equipment unit, and the type of business process, how you run. Requirement number 2, and your data center type changes, or the components in there changes, the business processes changes. Okay, holding on to here, so we have 1 for 1, we have multiple types, we don't have an integrated solution. So if I can pick these 2 points, not integrated, but we need a solution. Let's jump on to the next slide. SAP HANA. Parking our question of non-integrated, require a solution, let's get into this example. Assume you have a retail shop and there's a queue of customers, and you find multiple of those customers are in your shop for the second time. Okay, they are basically buying articles the second time in your retail shop. Now, as soon as they get to your executive and she or he basically reads the barcode on that article, there's a meantime that the customer will hand over the credit card and he or she will swipe it. Before that time, your expectation as an owner of that retail shop is to shower your complete customers with promotions, since the customer is loyal to you and they are here for the second time. Now imagine between that meantime, there is data processing in the backend. The expectation is the customer should receive a SMS, and your executive also should know that yes, this customer is here multiple times and there's a promotion waiting for, and that should be accounted when I bill the customer. So now if you consider the backend jobs, on the bare metal servers which you have in data center, with this just example, a simple example, you will understand that you're basically running two types of workloads. One is OLTP, forget about OL, online, transactional processing. What is transactional? Writes or reads. Your executive basically reads the barcode on the article. Could it be a shirt or a shoe or anything? And that's the data write. So that's transaction. And then there's a reporting or analysis going on in the background, which basically understands that this customer is here the second time, more than once, and he or she should get this promotion, this particular promotion. And this is analyzing. So you get best of both the worlds on one single solution, and that is SAP HANA. With that, if I have to answer that question of what is SAP HANA, first one is next gen platform. Platform because SAP is positioning SAP HANA as everything, right? Let's say that from my experience with SAP, or rather from the past 5-6 years, you have a SAP module, you will be on SAP HANA. If not now, later for sure, right? And of course, the customers who are on SAP HANA are reaping the rewards out of it. So then that comes the point of next generation platform. It is a database as well. So not to forget, of course, it's the RDBMS. It's a relational database management system. Okay, I know that people talk about HANA having only columnar storage, no row store. That's wrong. HANA has both columnar storage and row store, just for your information. Okay. It drives real-time analytics and applications. Example, we already spoke about the retail chains, right? Just assume the Walmarts of the world managing humongous workloads on these systems. You've got to get into big data as well, right? Earlier, the understanding of big data was huge amount of unstructured data, get the algorithms in, okay, structure it, run the reports, probably bad jobs. Now, you have in-memory analytics with big data. The answer from SAP as of now is SAP HANA Vora, and Lenovo is on top of it already. We have certified appliances for SAP HANA Vora, wherein large amounts of big data could be analyzed. So all in all, we don't have to be in that technical jargons of in-memory, IMDB, OLTP, OLAP. The simple example, or what we would like to call SAP HANA, is a mixture of OLTP and OLAP database, or rather transactional and analytic database. That is all. Now, I spoke about SAP HANA as a software piece. Now let's shift on to the hardware part. If you Google out SAP HANA, you might hit these pieces of words: appliance, TDI, infrastructure, architecture design, blah, blah, blah. Now, for a newbie onto SAP HANA, the first question would be, okay, I know SAP HANA because it precedes with the word called as SAP, well and good, but what about appliance? Well, that's a confusion. Is this appliance something similar to a coffee maker? And I think that was the understanding around 4 years back, but for sure the answer is no. Okay, it's not a coffee maker. That doesn't mean that you cannot, the appliance doesn't mean you cannot make any customizations or changes on the configuration which you get from particular vendor. No, that's not. You can have your business specific, or as per your requirement, you could customize that as well. First and foremost, is this something offered by SAP? Partly yes, because the licensing of SAP HANA is based, all from SAP. No hardware vendor deals with it, as far as I am, informed. And the second one is, do I need special hardware? It all, dials back to the first point which I discussed. do we need special hardware? Now, special doesn't fit here, as I did mention already, because these are mission critical servers, or rather if you dwell around x86 market with multiple vendors, these are pretty much the flagship systems which vendors position in the market for SAP HANA workload. With these sort of systems, it's not just HANA. You can assume mission critical workloads like SAP traditionally. Now I know that the buzzword around SAP is HANA, but I believe there's something which is forgotten in the dark, the traditional SAP applications like ERP, Business Suite. You know, we speak about HANA, but for the newbies, HANA is the buzzword around SAP, but not ERP or a Business Warehouse Accelerator. Considering that, a latest CPU with the maximum power in place is a must and should to run SAP HANA. Now, is this something decided by a hardware vendor or SAP? The answer is yes and yes. It's decided by both hardware vendor and SAP. So we get into a testing phase, validation phase to understand, okay, out of this server, what should be my maximum performance? If there's customers X, Y, Z who are my pilot customers, are they happy with such sort of performance? And then we get into calculations such as multi-core parallelization, example, 22 cores, 8 terabyte memory, advanced compression with encryption in place. Now these are the things which are pretty much needed for SAP HANA. Now I think you would have a basic idea that a commodity system which might not equip all these possibilities or all these components or capabilities might not be a good fit for SAP HANA. To start with, this is what we need. SAP HANA needs high-speed, multi-core, high-memory systems with highest RAS capabilities. Now what is RAS? Reliability, availability, and serviceability. Now, if I compare, I think, at least some of you might have interest in Formula One, right? If you compare around 8-10 years back, we used to have V8s and V10s, right? It's screaming sounds, the audience enjoy, but the speed was the factor. We have seen multiple races wherein Michael Schumacher would have lost because of the reliability of that engine, but still he would win the championship. But come down after 8 or 10 years now, with Lewis Hamilton, winning all these last 3 championships, reliability is one of the core factors. You do not have the reliability on this V6 turbo hybrid era. The team is considered to be not a runner in the championship, right? Something similar applies here. You do not have RAS, you have speed, then you might not be in a position to reap the benefits out of SAP HANA. I think if I'm sitting in front of a CFO, if I speak about all these stuffs, I think finally the question is, kitne mein aayega, right? So that, that's an Indian saying, so as to go, so finally relative cost and return on investment. I know that we need performance, we need RAS features, but finally cost effects. There are some independent surveys being done. The first one, of course, applies for a small size customer. The relativeness is around less than 100 users. If you see in year 1, cost is something which is higher than benefit. Okay, but as you go, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, it changes. Medium-sized customers, something similar. Large-sized customers, year 1, cost and benefit, pretty much neck to neck. The reason is the speed at which, or the attribute is the speed at which your business processes gets integrated with SAP HANA deployment or your new SAP HANA. And that is which decides relative cost and ROIs. I have practical examples. Customers in Asia Pacific who probably started adoption of SAP HANA from past 3 to 3.5 years. we have European customers, American customers who probably started from last 5 years. We see a lot of difference. In general, when I say cost versus benefit analysis, year one tends to be the one wherein you might imagine or you might assume that cost could be a bit higher if you're comparing with the benefit you might plan to reap out of this SAP HANA deployment. But as you go 2, 3, 4, and 5, it's good. I have a real-time example which I've kept it as the last slide of my presentation, so I'll speak about that later. Now, if you look into this chart of total cost, keeping apart software and consulting cost, hardware is considered to be around 35% of the total SAP HANA practice or a deployment time. And this is where Lenovo plays, right? And these hardwares which run on SAP HANA are optimized, right? Even then they carry 35% of the total cost. So that means the assumption is these systems are, they do not equip the usual components, but they are specially validated to run SAP HANA. So what's the biggest question in all of the organizations now? Cost saving? Yes. The next $1 million question is how? Yes, we need cost, we need to cut the cost, but the question is how? There are two streams. I have to basically satisfy both of them. One says, yes, I need all this SAP HANA equipment. I need to be equipped to be competitive in the market. But on the other hand side, I hear that, yes, you get it, but this is what you need to get into. Okay, these are the dollar bills I'm ready to spend. So let's park there. If you see this snap, what do you think of? I'm sure you're thinking of the 1983 World Cup final when India won, of course. And the next one is 2007 T20 World Cup, which India won. And the third one is 2011 World Cup final, which India won. There's a constant in these three. What's that? I'm sure you're already answering it's World Cup, right? And India playing the World Cup finals. There are many constants, but there's a huge change coming in. If you look at 2007, if you look at 1983, 83 was a 60 overs match, and then you have the 50 overs, and then you have 20 overs. The understanding is expectation of the users is increasing from a performance perspective. No one wants to sit in front of a TV or a so-called idiot box for a whole day or for 8 hours. They want to enjoy the same, whatever comes out of a cricket match, probably in around 2 or 3 hours, and yes, they want to see the result. And that's the change, right? Now, when these things are changing, this is no way correlating to something from a technology perspective, but if you see this, Lenovo solution for SAP HANA, we never call this solution as hyperconverged, okay? I'm sure you would have already heard about hyperconverged in your experience going through data centers, etc. But our solution is completely hyperconverged in nature. No external SAN being used in our solution at all. And these two servers which you see on the screen are a 4-socket and an 8-socket systems for SAP HANA. And these are the only building blocks which we use. So that means as a customer you can start from 128 GB main memory and grow up to 376 terabytes. Now I'm speaking about main memory, not storage. Staggering 376 terabytes of main memory without changing the building blocks. And that means for a financial person, this is investment protection. You do not have to dwell around multiple pieces of servers to run the same SAP HANA database. This covers your 3 years to 5 years growth. We have practical customers doing it. Okay, from an operating system, EcoSpace, Spectrum, both Linux vendors, Red Hat and SUSE, and GPFS from IBM, XFS as well. And then comes the SAP HANA stack. this is the same building block which I was speaking about in the last slide deck, so I don't want to spend a lot here. But still, if you would like to understand the aspects, you can get into virtualization, bare metal stack, internal drives. Everything is in place when you speak about Lenovo solution for SAP HANA. And all these are certified by SAP. And for that matter, we are the only vendor who can provide 94 nodes of scale out. That is 94 nodes, each equipped with 4 terabytes of main memory. And this is the one which I was speaking about all the way around, the change, right? Simple, seamless, and scalable. You do not have to get into the complexities of storage area network, lose data center space, lose cooling, pay for a data center administrator who is a storage admin, of course, run the mission critical SAP HANA without using storage area networks. That's not just, not the one advantage which is coming out of this architecture. When you see the scalability, upgrade paths, multiple advantages. If the next question coming from you is, can I have the same high availability disaster recovery solution with SAN? Would I get it here? The answer is yes, you will. And everything is certified by SAP. I was speaking about our solutions. Now the next big question is Haswell and Broadwell. Of course, those are the Intel CPU code names for their chipsets. And if you see on the left-hand side, 22% performance improvement from Ivy Bridge to Haswell, and to Broadwell, that's not been updated in this deck. It's around 24% from an SD2TF benchmarking. And that is what people need to run SAP HANA, which Lenovo has. Reliability. TBR, we are rated #1 for the last 14 out of 16 quarters. Okay, so this just goes to show the reliability which we have in our System X portfolio as well as ThinkService. Lenovo services. Now we speak about technology. Who is going to do that? Who is going to support me? Who is going to implement? We have an arm which is Lenovo services, which will support the end user or the customer end to end, from planning till optimization and asset recovery services as well. It includes advanced installation and expansion, which is basically upgrades, health checks, remote managed services. So when it seems Lenovo HANA solution, it's an end-to-end shop for you guys. Global partnership, leadership with SAP HANA. As per our internal numbers, we have positioned at least 7,400 servers worldwide now. We have some of the largest customers in the world running on Lenovo systems. From an initiative perspective, HANA Enterprise Cloud in China is completely hosted by Lenovo. So it's first of its kind HANA Enterprise Cloud in China. So all the customers for cloud in China are on Lenovo. With that, I'm going to move on to some of the proof points that why Lenovo. I've been speaking about technology, why we are in the point wherein we have the largest install base for HANA. Are there any proof points? Answer is yes. The first one, no one else than SAP. SAP itself is our reference customer for SAP HANA, traditional SAPs, and they are a very good customer of Lenovo for the ThinkPads as well. So it starts from a long time. And they run their ERPs, CRM, supply chain management, and their very own, I think if you are an SAP customer, you know OSS nodes. When you have an SAP issue, you raise that. So that basic server is running on Lenovo servers in Waldorf, Germany, which is headquarters or rather called as the SAP city. Freudenberg IT, this is one of the best examples for hosting and managed services companies. Because of our modular design, Freudenberg IT selected Lenovo as their hardware partner so that they can grow from 2 socket, 4 to 8 socket seamlessly. They don't have to buy or spend, start with a heavy investment. No, they don't have to with Lenovo. They have investment protection as well. Last but not the least, Lenovo itself is the largest SAP HANA user in Asia Pacific. Now, how is that? This goes to show that we know SAP HANA better. When we were acquired by Lenovo, we were all part of IBM then. When we were acquired by Lenovo, there was a business process change, and that change included SAP HANA. We use 12 into 2 terabyte nodes. That's huge. And if you look in the client success summary, the reporting performance, and personally I am involved in Lenovo IT deployments because we do the next gen testing on Lenovo IT systems as well. Okay, that's the assurance for end users that yes, Lenovo tests these systems on real-time data. Coming back to the performance, 45x is what we receive. That's a staggering number. With, we have 45,000 employees, if I'm not wrong, around approximately, the revenue around 45 billion. And just imagine the reporting performance improvement is 45x. Of course, the hardware deployment is huge, but the improvement is huge. And the data center looks, it's a beauty with minimum hardware deployed. With that, I'll close the presentation and I'll probably open it for questions. Akanksha, back to you.
Okay, let's take the question. The first question is, what makes SAP HANA fundamentally different? Where does SAP HANA come from?
So SAP HANA, of course, comes from SAP. So it's basically developed by SAP. So I think so the biggest question there is, how is it different, right? SAP, as I did mention, it's a database. Now you could compare that with SQL database or Oracle database, but it is completely in memory. So that means if you want to compare to something which you have already now, you are storing your data onto the local hard drives or a SAN storage. But with SAP HANA, you're going to have all that data in memory. So the response time is going to be really less. It's all turning back to the performance pointer. That's the biggest shift. I hope that answered that question.
Second question. What kinds of use cases does SAP HANA support with Lenovo?
From a use cases perspective, if you're speaking about business suite on HANA, business warehouse on HANA, or you're looking at an all-in-one bundle like Business One on HANA, and now we have, or rather you have from SAP, the end user applications like BI could go on HANA now. You can have the S4 HANAs. So all in all, or rather the latest one, or the one which is favorite of the end users, and the popular one is Fiori, which promises this digital boardroom for the CIOs and the CEOs. If you guys are going to be in the Sapphire this May 16th in the US, Lenovo is going to have a big shop there, big booth, and we are going to, of course, give a demo on this digital boardroom, just for your information, right? So all these use cases, all in all, OLAP, OLTP, anything and everything on SAP is supported for SAP HANA on Lenovo. I think the question is around or SAP HANA being compared with Oracle, Exadata, Exalogic stuff, and IBM DB2, if I am not wrong. That's the usual question which comes up. Correct? If that's the case, with my past experience, okay, this is the opinion of my customers or Lenovo customers, SAP HANA is the one which is evolving. Let me be straightforward, not to to hit around the bush. SAP HANA is the one now if you are running the ERPs of the world. Oracle, with Oracle, it's just like, it's becoming too proprietary. They have their own software, they have their own hardware. Now, the sort of openness which you might, or the open ecospace which you might get in SAP HANA That's not something which you might hit it in IBM DB2. We all are from IBM, so pretty much we know in and out of DB2. Now they have something called as DB2 Blue, which IBM claims to be in memory. Of course, it's an in-memory database. But are there any reference scenarios, reference performance numbers, which states that as SAP HANA could run on an x86 Lenovo system, or for that matter, any other vendor, the sort of response time for an end user who is running ERP, who wants to update his last quarter result, there are real-time numbers on SAP HANA. Do I see that on Oracle Exadata? No, I haven't seen yet. On DB2, I haven't seen one. Okay, the scalability what, or the ecosystem what SAP HANA has is humongous. When you go to virtualized data centers, cloud, SAP HANA supports. How about Oracle and DB2? They do, but is there scalability? Okay, the support from the backend. If you look at all these factors and then you rate one, you will probably tending towards SAP HANA. Next question, Akanksha.
Next question is, do we require separate server for Fiori and DMS, and what configuration it should be for these?
Okay, Fiori and DMS. Now, if you want to position only Fiori and DMS on HANA, which I think probably not, if you have Fiori and DMS, you might have ERP and OLTP or OLAP also. If you have, let's give an example, because I don't know what sort of ecosystem you are running with SAP. Now, I'm assuming that you have ERP, right? You're running ERP on HANA. Then if you think the capacity of that server is enough to run Fiori and DMS, you can deploy that. You do not have to buy a different server, right? It's not required. It's basically the capacity of the server to hold on to Fiori and DMS. If that is well and good, you don't need a different server. So that's it all boils down to the same question of memory to core ratio, right? If you have the required amount of memory and cores to run all these three application modules, well and good, you can do that. But I think if at all we have to get into a final sizing perspective, you could come back to Lenovo, reach out to me or our sales team. Probably we can get into exercise and understand whether you need a different server or not. Yeah, sure. I think, as last but not the least, I'd like all the attendees to go back with some food for thought. That is, everyone can actually reap out the benefits of SAP HANA. So that's a license which is coming from SAP. Now the biggest decision resides on the underlying hardware. Now, would someone like to go with a traditional deployment while the complete industry is moving towards the big change? If you look into IDCs, if you look into the latest news, the big guns or the big dogs are basically acquiring companies like Hyperconverged, etc. Now Lenovo is already into this. Now the food for thought is whether SAP HANA on this changed solution, which could basically get you to your desired output or not. That's all from my side, Akanksha.